Well, good day. My name is Evan Duke. I am the president of Evan Duke Enterprises Fractional Leadership Solutions. Today, I wanted to talk about a issue that is facing many people in this country and throughout the world, and that is the decision of exiting their business. Now, right now, we're getting ready to go through a generational wealth transfer that really is unprecedented um, in this century and probably throughout world history as the baby boom generation begins to hit retirement age. Now, today's discussion that I'm going to go ahead and um, share this screen so you can view is going to be one about making a successful exit. Now, this challenge that we're going to be facing is something that is going to be a team effort in order to make sure that we adequately address. And that is helping business owners or founders successfully exit their business. So that way, not only that the business owner is able to um, have a good next chapter and enjoy their retirement, but also that business is able to succeed. Now, I have been in situations where exits have gone badly. It wasn't my choice necessarily, but I saw the ramifications, and having seen that, that is a big reason why I feel very strongly about this. And it is my goal with Evan Duke Enterprises Fractional Leadership Solutions to help make sure that if you were a business owner or a founder, you not only are able to exit successfully, but also your business is able to remain successful once you leave. So, let's start this presentation by discussing some of the challenges for a successful exit. Now, most people may not necessarily be aware of what they are, and if you aren't, then there's a very good chance that you're going to fall into some of the same traps. Here are some statistics that really should cause people some alarm here. 70% of business sales fail. Now, with this large generational wealth transfer that we're about to witness, this should be something that should keep a lot of people up at night, even people who are well positioned. And the reason why this is the case is because with this glut of businesses that are going to be coming available for sale, even a business that is well positioned and attractive, there's a decent chance that finding a buyer is going to be a little harder. So, this is not only a challenge that you're going to be facing, but this is a challenge that I am going to be facing as well. So, that 70% of business sales fail is something that really is going to be making life difficult for a lot of people in the coming years. Now, it can take 2 years to prepare a business to make the exit feasible. Even though I am going to work as hard as I can and as quickly as can to make sure that your business is ready, the reality is such that even a motivated business owner and a dedicated team, we're going to run into some hurdles along the way. I have a wide range of assessments that I can use to help us diagnose problems. But even utilizing many of these assessments as quickly and efficiently as possible, it is going to take us time and effort to diagnose the problems and then come up with a solution that is going to make things work. M&A transaction can take 9 months or longer to achieve. Well, I'd like to think that with the M&A advisor that I use, this is not going to be the case. In fact, my philosophy is to bring the M&A advisor in at the beginning to help you get to know them a little bit better. And even then that'll shorten the time as a bit, especially since we're developing that relationship during that preparation process. But it's still going to take time from the bidding process to the due diligence to, the final details on the contract, it still is going to take a few months to get done. So while I feel like this process can be done in 3 years, possibly even closer to two, depending on how well things go, it's not going to be something that we can get done in a year. It's not going to be something likely that we could do in two. We can be close to two, but it's going to take time. Now, the reason why this last statement, owners and founders should start planning 5 years in advance, is up there, is because of the simple fact that it is going to take time. And, if you bring me on right at the start of that 5 year period, okay, yeah, we'll have a little bit of time and we can, maybe take a little bit more leisurely approach. But the reality is you need to start thinking at least 5 years in advance of this, just because this is not going to be an easy process. And, here's the reality. Let's say that the first buyer falls through. Well, we're going to need to find another one. So the reality is, when you start looking at this, there are so many different variables that could take a process that, while as streamlined as I can make it, it might take longer for you to accomplish. So here are some reasons why exit struggles exist. The first one is there's a misconception of the business value. In other words, the owner thinks it is valued at one price, and the reality is it's another. Now, the way that I'm going to make this process work is I'm going to try to come in and bring the business valuation expert in at the beginning. Since I'm industry agnostic, we actually deal with our M&A advisor has connections with valuation experts in different industries. So that way we're going to come in, get a very detailed valuation. It's going to tell us what the price is of the business. It's going to give us benchmarks. In short, it's going to be very thorough. It's going to give us a lot of detail showing where things stand. It may not be what you want, but that's the beauty of bringing in the valuation expert at the beginning of this process, is because we can take a look at what the price is, we can see where things benchmark, and then we can work towards trying to help get the value to where you want it to be. So that's reason number one. Reason number two is business owners view this business as being their baby. In other words, don't touch it. Just because it's almost viewed as a child, just because of the years and years of work that was put in. So obviously that's a problem, and the way that I try to address it is by using a cultural awareness worksheet, where we will give it to you right at the outset and help you to work through it and really identify the things that are in this business that you want us to retain. My goal is to try to retain as much, if not everything, as possible, but there might be some slight adjustments. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that while we're trying to preserve your business, we're also able to be honoring your legacy. Reason number three is decisions are made to favor personal preferences. This could look at everything from, tax strategies that are going to minimize taxes to, strategies to, with bookkeeping preferences to even, like, say, for example, you decide to subcontract out as much as possible rather than actually creating a business entity. Well, those are going to be some decisions that are going to be very hard to overcome. We can overcome them, but the reality is there may need to be some choices made that, while you might not like, at the end of the day, they are going to help preserve the value and ensure that you wind up with something that is much, much better off. Now, the final reason for an exit struggle is the business is built around the business owner. We would label this as a lifestyle business. Now, there are some businesses that, you really just just because of their nature, they have to remain a lifestyle business. It can be sold. The value is not going to be quite what you want because we're primarily selling a book of business, which could include assets that are managed, especially in a financial advisor situation. But at the end of the day, if we can find a way to help build the business so that it's no longer built around you, that way we can have something that is tangible and is actually sellable. Because a business that is built around you is not going to be sellable because you need to be there in order for it to function. But if the business is built around, a group of people that, okay, well, it's actually positions that actually can be hired, then it is sellable. So those are some reasons for exit struggles. Here are some stakeholder perspectives that I really want to take a moment to discuss. If you're an owner or a founder, you want to exit your business, maximizing your investment to the fullest. But here's the reality: you cannot extricate yourself from the business on your own. In short, you need to have somebody come in and help you extricate yourself. So that way you can get the most value. It's kind of like trying to perform surgery on yourself. Now, from the financial advisor perspective, you're there for your client, but the reality is you are a financial advisor. Simply put, you cannot be there to get the company ready operationally. Even from a CFO perspective, you may be great with financials, but the reality is you have how many clients you need to service? You simply put cannot address everything that they need. If you're an equity professional, venture capital, private equity, investment banking, finance office, whatever, in this group, you're a portfolio company, or you're there to, basically broker deals, you cannot address the day-to-day operations here. You may understand what needs to be done, but you don't have the ability to get involved and really get down to the nitty-gritty and find a way to get that company ready for the sale, either to protect your investment or to broker the sale. That is where we come to the solution, and that is the Fractional COO or VP of Operations guidance. Evan Duke Enterprises Fractional Leadership Services exists to address this problem for all these stakeholders. So, thankfully, we have two options as far as how we're able to accomplish this. Option number one is the Fractional COO or VP of Operations. Now, here are the different areas that we will come in and take a look at. We'll look at in great detail, what's going on here in each of these areas. As I mentioned, I have a wide range of assessments that are aimed at trying to help us figure out what the problems are, if there are problems that exist. Now, one thing I should mention is while you see this range of areas, the reality is, we're trying to get this business ready to sell. It's not going to be perfect. My goal is, if we discover problems, is to try to come up with solutions, but realize that these solutions are going to need to keep building on each other. So the goal is to not only make sure that we address these problems, but at the same time, we have the tools set up so that way the company moving forward is going to be able to keep addressing issues in these areas as they come up. Now, in order to accomplish all of these fixes in these areas, we have a 4-phase plan. The first plan is onboarding, where basically both sides are getting onboarded. I'm introducing you to the process, whereas you're giving me all the information from, financial statements, contracts, institutional memory, everything that you have, so I can take a look, figure out where things are, and, begin to develop the 90-day strategic impact plan. Of course, I'm onboarding you by showing, okay, this is the way that I work. These are the client communication guidelines. This is everything that you need to know in order to make sure that you understand properly how I work. So this onboarding is going both ways. The strategic impact plan is, we have this 90-day sprint where we're trying to get as much figured out and identified as we can as quickly as possible. In short, we're there trying to figure out the good, the bad, and the ugly, really identify what areas need to be assessed, and go ahead and pull the trigger and do them. There's undoubtedly going to be some low-hanging fruit that we'll be able to get addressed during this period, but our goal during this 90-day strategic impact plan is to really try to very quickly figure out what we need to do. Now, obviously, when we get to the end of that 90-day strategic impact plan, we're going to have things that we got figured out. We're going to have some things like, okay, well, we made these changes, but it didn't quite fix everything. And then there are going to be some things that's like, okay, well, this is going to take a little longer. We need to work on it. So that initial 90-day sprint, it's aimed at really helping us get as much in focus as possible. Now, phase 3, the ongoing department management, is going to be as we're working to really try to help solidify, basically what we may have assessments we need to do. We'll look at them. We'll need to come to solutions. Really, at the end of the day, that third phase, it's not going to be determinate. It's going to be rather indeterminate in length, partly because of the fact that it's going to last as long as we need it to do. Basically, at that point, we'll be doing monthly progress reports, and they'll be aimed at like, okay, yeah, like let's say, for example, we did such and such assessment. We figured out we need to get this done. Okay, what we're going to need to do is next month is we're going to need to not only study that, but we're going to need to take a look at this assessment. So that ongoing department management is as we're going to really try to be building on what we did during that 90-day strategic impact plan. But our goal is going to be trying to find ways to really, identify areas that we can continue to build on top of and address. So that's going to be, kind of where we're getting into the weeds, trying to, as we move towards the goal of getting your exit done. Now, the fourth phase, the optimization of resources, we enter that phase once we've really completed all of the assessments and we've tried to really get everything set. So at once we get to phase 4, that is once we have really successfully gotten the business ready for the sale. And with this optimization of resources, that's when, we're going to be basically developing the final report, really kind of putting the finishing touches on the business. And this is the point where we really are going to be moving forward as quickly as possible with the sale, as if we've gone with the M&A route. If we've gone with the route of, say, for example, an ESOP, then, we're also going to be moving forward at that point too. But getting to phase 4 is going to be where our goal is to really get everything right where it needs to be. We're going to have the institutional memory thoroughly documented and really start transitioning into going, okay, this business is ready. Now it's time for us to move towards getting the M&A advisor in to get the business sold. So we have those 4 phases laid out. Here are the reports that you're going to be getting. Now, I don't have all the assessments because there are, about 2.5 dozen of them, and they're going to be dependent on what's needed. But these reports are going to be kind of basically aimed at giving you the idea about, okay, this is where things are going. The 90-day strategic impact plan is going to likely cite multiple assessments that we should do. In addition, For example, there's also going to be financial assessments where I'm going to be taking a look at things and saying, okay, these are the 5-year projections for where you're going to be financially, as well as start looking at things and saying, hey, this is how things measure up from a financial perspective. We probably should, really consider addressing this or addressing that. The initial findings report is going to be towards the end of that strategic impact plan. And that's going to be really where we're going to be identifying, saying, okay, look, here are the assessments that we did. This is what we think should be done. We think we should consider, additional assessments based on what we've done. This is going to be really the first key document for us in terms of the major step towards getting the business ready for sale. The 90-day strategic impact progress report is going to kind of say, okay, this is where things stand after this first 90-day sprint. This is, kind of where it's going to really come down to the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, that's going to be really pivotal for us as far as getting there, just because it's going to be that first 90-day window. We're going to be saying, okay, this is where things stand. And, it'll give us some focus. It'll be like, okay, we were able to get some of these things in the initial findings report done, but, this is kind of what it looks like for us moving forward. Now, these monthly progress reports are going to be like, it could get a little tedious just because it's like, okay, well, yeah, we were able to get this assessment done, or like, actually, no, we needed to go back and redo some things. But what the goal is to kind of help give us accountability and really pushing for us as each month goes by to be like, okay, this is what we were able to accomplish. And, this is what we're going to need to shoot for next month. Now, the long-term operational sustainability report is going to be a critical one, because what's going to happen is when we get to this point, this is where we will have developed all the institutional memory that is necessary. We'll have made all the adjustments. Everything will be thoroughly documented. And that's not going to be necessarily included in this report. This report's going to be kind of like a narrative of what we've done. So that way you can get an idea about everything that we have accomplished. And really the goal is going to be for us to get to this point and go, okay, yes, we have finished everything, and this is really where everything needs to stand. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking, oh, that's all fine and great. I get the ballpark picture. The round tables are a solution that could exist if there's no space in the for a fractional client, because I only have space for 4 fractionals. So it's possible that if we get to this point and you need help in this capacity, well, okay, that's all fine and good, but what do we do if you need this but we don't have a spot? Of course, on the flip side, you may be a smaller business that it feels like it might be overkill to have what we have, but at the same time, you actually really are a business, and you might be a lifestyle business that okay, well, yeah, we could help you get your business sold. If you're a solopreneur, I mean, really, I'm not sure there's a lot that I can do to assist you. But even if it's a lifestyle business that has multiple employees, well, we may be able to help you get sold, and that is where the roundtables come into play. What these roundtables are is they are going to meet for only a quarter of the year on the first and third Fridays of the month. Our focus is going to be on the operational excellence worksheet. And really what this is going to be doing is it's going to be aimed at helping us to really get into the nitty gritty. We're going to focus on identifying operational bottlenecks, really trying to help figure out what the problems are that you're facing that, we really, if we get optimized, will really help you out the most. The final thing is we're going to be aiming at, again, aiming at organizations that you might not be able to utilize our fractional services for one reason or another. Now, you might be thinking, okay, well, this is all fine and good, but what happens if you do not serve an industry that I'm in? Well, thankfully, we're industry agnostic. What we're doing here is focusing on getting a good business well built. And the reality is, you know, everybody could benefit from what we can. So we just focus on the business and the process and getting it ready. Thankfully, with the valuations experts, we're able to bring in the people who work specifically with your industry. But as a whole, our goal is to really make sure that your business is fundamentally built and is solid. So, at this point, if you have any questions, call me, not Saul. I mean, Saul has his own problems. So call me if you have any questions. Here's my contact information. If you would like to shoot me an email or, simply get a phone call, that is what my goal is to help you out. Really, any questions or answers that you might have, I'd love to hear from you. So again, please take a moment to reach out, and I'd love to find out ways that I can help you out. I mean, it might be just all you need is just an hour-long conversation. You may not be quite ready for this. You may have some other questions. Whatever it is, I want to help you out as much as possible, and my goal is to just help whatever you need in this process to make sure that you are successful in getting it. Thank you again so much for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.